Let's settle this once for all. Who's the real wide receiver you? Stick around. This is Way Off Sides. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever the case may be. Welcome to your favorite sports talk show here on the YouTubers Way Off Sides. I'm Cotton. Most of you know that. If you're new here, you don't. Now you do. You're that much smarter. See, you're like 30 seconds into this thing. You're already that much smarter. Today, we're going to talk about a very controversial topic, one that sets message boards and X on fire. And it is a small fraction of a much bigger conversation. But we're going to discuss who is the real wide receiver you in college football. And my answer may surprise you, so stick around. But before we get too far into things, do yourself a favor. It's doing me a favor, but it is also you a favor. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you like this video, leave a comment, leave a reaction, and subscribe while you're at it. Because if you subscribe and you hit the notification bell, ding, 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 you hit the notification bell, you don't miss a thing. Whether I'm right, wrong, you don't miss it. You don't miss it at all. And I'll tell you, there are a few of our loyal followers who have been with us the past year who will tell you, you don't want to miss certain things, especially our live shows on Thursday nights, after dark, happy hour, all the things. You can be there and be a part with your Bama kin online. Now let's get to it. The big conversation around college football right now, and this was actually kind of triggered by an Ohio State fan who says and thinks that Ohio State, coming off their national championship win, is the new Alabama, and the SEC dominance in terms of national championships is over. That is a tough pill to swallow. Now, I'm going to do my best to take off my crimson-colored goggles here and give you my legitimate thoughts on this without being biased. But there's a good chance I'm going to be a little biased, because when you're stacking Alabama up against other schools, it's rare. Even the good ones, it's rare traditionally and historically that they measure up. And that is a truth. That is not Cotton just saying how he feels. That's a truth. Thank you, Nick Saban. But that's the big picture here and we'll do another video talking about that. I want your thoughts just in general. Is the SEC's dominance of national championships over with? You have Michigan and Ohio State who have gone back to back in the Big Ten winning. We all know that the Big Ten and the SEC are the premier conferences in college football, but is the SEC's reign of dominance over? Are schools like LSU, Alabama, and Georgia done winning 7, 8, 9, 10 consecutive national championships? What do you think? Now, when you ask that question, the question that really, when you break it down into determinants, right? Who's the best position group of these teams? Like, if we're actually going to break this down and discuss, like, is the SEC better? Is the Big Ten better? Is Ohio State better? Is Alabama better? Is Georgia better? Like, we're going to break these things down by position groups at some point in time. You have to, if you really want to do an in-depth analysis of who's the better team overall historically. Well, the way the internet likes to do that is they like to crown teams and schools blank, fill in the blank, you, right? Running back you, quarterback you, linebacker you, wide receiver you. Alabama checks a lot of boxes for fill in the blanks, you, universities, right? And they have in the past 17 years, because they've been so dominant because of Nick Saban and what he's been able to produce at Alabama. Now, a lot of people think that that is going to slip and fall off. I don't necessarily think that's the case. And I have several videos here on the channel that tell you why. Be sure to go check those out. Por favor. But in terms of wide receiver you, there are, in my opinion, starting right off the bat, there's only 3 schools that have a legitimate claim to the title. And those 3 schools should be pretty evident to you. It should be LSU, Alabama, and Ohio State. So where do we start? I think you start by discussing success of those wide receivers in college football. Let's not talk about the NFL right yet. Let's talk about college football. Straight off the bat, you have to tip your hat to Alabama in the past 10, 15 years. Alabama has produced um, a, a a plethora, a cornucopia of wide receiver talent. Now, interestingly enough, a lot of that talent in the past 5 years has exited Alabama after being at Alabama developing and gone somewhere else. Isaiah Bond, Aaron Anderson, and other schools are benefiting from that and want to claim to be wide receiver U. You know, Ja'Cory Brooks is over there in Louisville doing his dang thing, or he was over there in Louisville doing his dang thing. And Louisville never claimed to be wide receiver U because Brooks was mostly developed at Alabama. Now, college wise, when we talk about who's producing top level wide receivers, we can look at this several different ways. I think just to get it out of the way, I'm sorry, my LSU fans. I think among the three, you're in last place here. LSU has a storied history of really good wide receivers, Chase, guys like that. You got Aaron Anderson this year. But in terms of development of these guys in college football, who's really the best? It's a toss up between Alabama and Ohio State. I think that 5 years ago, or even 3 years ago, it would have been, case closed. Alabama is the definitive answer. Again, trying to take off my crimson colored goggles, you can make an argument for Ohio State right now. Ohio State has had a really good run of wide receivers lately. Chris Olave, Smith. Marvin Harrison Jr. You've watched, you've seen these guys, right? But so has Alabama. But the reach of Alabama is much further back in terms of their grade one wide receivers, right? Everybody wants to talk about Amari Cooper, Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley, Jerry Jeudy, obviously Jalen Waddle. The list goes on and on and on, right? Henry Ruggs. But Alabama's reach is further back. Ohio State is producing that wide receiver talent currently. Now, that's not to say Alabama is falling behind, because I think Alabama's wide receiving core this year is going to be the best overall in the country. I get it. Ohio State has Jeremiah Smith, but I will go on record, and I'm getting told by all sorts of people when I posted this on X, even Alabama fans going, "Hey man, be careful with that. I think you're wrong there." I think Ryan Williams will have a better year than Jeremiah Smith in 2025. I think they're going to be neck and neck when they both draft. I think Jeremiah Smith will likely get drafted before Ryan Williams just because he's bigger, right? He's a more durable frame. But I think looking at it right now, I think Alabama has the overall better wide receiving room. And I think the draft next year, you're going to see it's going to be wide receiver heavy. And I think Alabama's going to win out in that draft, which is saying something because Ohio State just had a historic draft. I think they had 152 people go. And so I think that you got to give the nod to who's currently developing the best wide receivers right now. You got to give it to Ohio State. It's Ohio State. Alabama is right there on their heels. I think, especially with bringing in Ryan Grubb, we all know what Ryan Grubb and Kalen DeBoer were capable to do with those three wide receivers at Washington. I think you're going to see that this year at Alabama. Now, that's part of the college equation. Now, you could also use another parameter to talk about this. And for me, this is one of my favorite yearly awards. It's the Biletnikoff, right? Traditionally, the Biletnikoff goes to the best wide receiver in college football. If we look at historically, who's produced the most Biletnikoff winners? Well, the answer is Alabama. Alabama has 3 Biletnikoff winners. I believe it's only 3. Did Julio Jones not win the Biletnikoff? He did not. That's crazy. Anyway, sorry. But they've had 3 in Jerry Jeudy. Who else? Calvin Ridley won it. And then I believe Jalen Waddle won it, correct? No, Devontae Smith. Excuse me. Devontae Smith won it. I'm so sorry. Interestingly enough, Julio Jones never won the Biletnikoff. But Alabama has had 3, correct? So how many has Ohio State had? Since we're really, I think the measure is between Alabama and Ohio State. Alabama has had 3 since 1994, and Ohio State has had 2 since 1994. That would be Marvin Harrison Jr. and then Terry Glenn. Now, What about Louisiana State University? We all know Jamar Chase won it in 2019. Well, they had another one in 2001 in Josh Reed. So LSU has two. Now, here's the thing. One of LSU's and one of Ohio State's haven't even been in the past 20 years. So I think you have to give the nod there. If you're measuring it by Biletnikoff winners, it's easily got to go to Alabama because their 3 Biletnikoff winners have all been since 2014. So I give that check mark to Bama. Now, the other way that we can measure this, of course, is NFL production. Alabama, let's start there, has a ton of talent in the NFL. I mean, a ton. Obviously, Julio Jones just retired, but he's been there for a long time. Let's see. You've got Amari Cooper, Jerry Jeudy, Jamison Williams. Cam Sims is still even in there. Devontae Smith, the Heisman Trophy winner, now Super Bowl champion. Let's see. Who else? I could just keep going. We said Jamison Williams. You tell me in the comment section because I know I'm going to forget somebody. Calvin Ridley, Jalen Waddle. I mean, Alabama is just, they've got guys in the league and they're consistently putting guys in the league. It's not just like this is something that they've been doing 1 or 2 years. Even now, where Alabama has seen this exodus of wide receivers over the past few seasons, they are still putting people in the league. Now, Ohio State, as far as I know, they've got probably 4 or 5 active guys in the league. I could be way off here on my numbers. But obviously, Igbuka, Marvin Harrison, Garrett Wilson, they've got a lot of guys, but I believe in terms of NFL development, it's going to go to Alabama. Now, LSU has put some dudes in the NFL at the wide receiving position, but I don't think it's at the level of Ohio State or Alabama. So I think at this point, we're going to go ahead and scratch LSU from the wide receiver U conversation. So in terms of league development, you've got Alabama and Ohio State. I think Alabama has the slight edge. In terms of where they are right now in wide receiver development, Ohio State has the slight edge. In terms of where they are in Biletnikoff winners, Alabama has the slight edge. So with that being said, I'm going to give it bias-free. I'm going to give it to Alabama. Alabama, until they prove otherwise, is still wide receiver U. I think that will play itself out heavily this season. I think that this season, you are going to be reminded of why Alabama is widely considered wide receiver U. I don't care what ESPN says. ESPN posts things just to get engagement and clicks. Not that we don't do that, but look, when you actually look at it, Alabama does have the edge. Now the bigger question becomes like, who is the premier program right now? I think it's Ohio State. I think because of what Ohio State did the last season, the way that they did it, the money that they're spending right now to replace a lot of the talent they lost, they're going to return probably who they say is the best wide receiver in college football. They're going to return the best defensive player in college football. I think it's Ohio State. As well, Ohio State just, I mean, draft-wise, Ohio State is blowing everybody out of the water right now. And that's just not talking poorly about Alabama. That's just the honest to goodness truth. Ohio State is just doing really, really well in developing talent and getting them in the NFL. Doesn't matter how much they're paying for these guys. They're still developing them and getting them to the league. So we'll see if this remains true. But I feel strongly that Rideouts 2.0 is on the way in 2025. That's all I've got for you this afternoon. I'm sure you have healthy, non-psychotic opinions about everything I just said. So tell me in the comment section, what did I miss? Who did I forget? I can't remember everybody Ohio State's played at wide receiver and put in the league. I'm trying to do this without bringing up a bunch of information on Google because I want to do it off the top of my head. So who did I miss? Who am I right about? Who am I wrong about? Who do you think is wide receiver U? Because ultimately what you think is way more important than what I have to say. Thank you for sticking around with us. We absolutely love each and every one of you. Be sure, if you're here at the end of the video, go ahead and hit subscribe, hit the notification bell. Hang out with us this coming up week on Thursday night for Way Offsides Live. Ask us your questions. We'll be there waiting on you. Also, be sure to go check out our website. Our blog articles are up. I'll actually have a more in-depth blog article about this, as well as if the Big Ten has overtaken the SEC as the leader and premier conference of college football. So be sure to check those things out. And as always, say your prayers, read your Bibles, wash your hands, horns down, beat Auburn and LSU and Tennessee too. Roll Tide.